Yes, good evening everybody. Welcome on board the bus one more time. It's of course Thursday. We're a wee bit late. We're just past 9 o'clock. We're live on YouTube, so that can only mean one thing and one thing only. It's of course time again for the Thursday Night Forum. A fun time of the week because we get everybody on. We shoot the shit. We open up the doors and we let your conversation guide the path that we go down. Now, full house, and what a house we've got. It's absolutely jam-packed, much to talk about, and I couldn't have three better folk to join me. Firstly, as a man, of course, he'll need no introductions. You know that face. It's his name on the badge down below. He is our very own Peter Law off the bus, and by that I mean he's the chairman of the board.
Non-executive chairman. Non-executive.
Full-blown executive. It is, of course, the lovable rogue. It is Russell Bhoycie Bus. How you doing, leader?
Jamming, mate. Jamming. Good to be on the T.N.F. I know I've missed last week, so good to be back, mate. I was chasing Scott last week, but I'm back, mate. Back in the realms of talking about the football, mate. That's where I belong.
Absolutely. Well, always a pleasure to have you on. Always, particularly in this sort of setting. It's good fun. And down the bottom, below myself, he's a staple into the Thursday Night Forum. As I always say, when he talks, you have to listen, or he'll pass judgment. He does, of course, the judge. It is Mark Kearney. How are we doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, mate. How are you, Steve?
Good, mate. I think tonight could be lively, so I'm looking forward to it. Much to talk about, albeit one thing. And last but certainly by no means least, is a guy who's normally the gatekeeper to Sunday morning Celtic chat. A man is as sharp as the haircuts that he dishes out at Har Barber. It is Davy Logue. Good to have you on, mate. I think this might be the first time you and I have done this together, so looking forward to you.
Well, when your message asking if I wanted to come on, I was like, well, I've been hearing these intros you've been giving out for everybody. I was like, I need to come on just to get hyped up, just get that big push, brother.
Keep train, get on, brah. That's it. Strap a rocket to your ass.
That's it.
Well, as we say, listen, much to talk about. I can see those opinions rolling in already. That's great. 95 years live, so let's get those numbers cracking on. But before we crack on, there is, of course, a wee bit of housekeeping that we always have to do that we call all that good stuff. You're watching on YouTube, which, of course, means you should know about the Bhoycie Bus channel. And for whatever reason, if you haven't, take 2 seconds, flip over, hit the bell icon, subscribe to us, and that way you'll get notified every time we put out new content. If you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up. If you want to go a wee bit mental, you can even share the video. It just helps get that traction down and get more folk on board. If you want to be a bus member, $1.99 a month, completely optional. Everything, as I say, is the same cost as a Rangers transfer because it's $3.99, does not cost you a penny. It just helps the man to the side of me here keep the wheels rolling because even though our content is putting it together is not. If you want to listen to us, you can check us out, Acast, EPL, Index, and all usual streaming network places, the usual. I don't need to tell you where they are. And we've got 2 sponsors that you need to get involved in. The first is up the top there. You can see that. It's piesports.com, long-standing. Get your body over there. Fire in a nice 12.5% discount after you place your order by using Bus 1888. And our newest sponsor that we have for all our gentlemen viewers out there, it is ED Pharmacy. So if you are fed up of being absolutely undependable and mince when it's time to perform like an Alexandro Bernabe, and you'd be much rather be the proverbial rising star with intensity pulsing through your veins like Jota, then get yourself over there, place your prescription order, and at your discount at the end, fire in Bus 10 and it'll give you a nice 10% off. And when those magic beans arrive in the post, you can guarantee that, like Jota, you'll have intensity pulsing through your veins when it's time to perform, but most importantly, where it counts, in the main vein. Anyway, that is us. It's done. The housekeeping's out of the way. It's time to get
that, well, that was good, mate. You're better than me at that stuff.
Time to get down to business. And guys, there is only one topic of conversation. And before we start, don't worry. They're just opinions. That's the fun thing about it. It's only opinions. Now, I know that there's a cup final around the corner, but listen, let's be honest with ourselves here. We could flog that should we start Aaron Moy or Kobayashi at the back patter to the cows come home. Or the manager's situation.
He's froze.
PD Pharmacy needs to kick in.
That's the manager's situation. But listen, fear not, because you will get your fill of cup final chat, no pun intended, because tomorrow night it's going to be Filberto Silva is going to be doing one of his fantastic Bustalgias, but then, this is the best bit, there's going to be a pre-match show. So you can get all that out of your system, and we'll just address the big fat elephant in the room, which is Ange going to leave? So
I thought you were talking about Ange there. That's a bit rude.
Guys, are you ready? Listen, I've already prepared. I'm fucking ahead of the curve. I've got my tinfoil hat. I am prepared, ready to go. Let's get geared up.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, Pat.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to open up to the floodgates. I'm going to ask all you guys, but I don't foresee myself doing too much talking about this. I want to let you guys just tear it apart. Now, you've seen it. Is Ange going to be leaving? Tottenham are interested. He's the number one candidate. People are looking for clues. Where are we at with it? Me personally, I am completely undecided. I thought I knew last week. Then I thought I knew a couple of days ago. My head's back up my arse. But what I will say is, at this moment in time, my opinion will completely depend on what happens at the end of the game. When that speech comes out, if we win or if we don't, what the words that man says are going to ultimately determine for me where he's at, because I've been picking the bones of his previous interviews. I've been taking sound bites of things he's said, and to a certain extent, it seems like he's maybe been, hiding in plain sight, and people have been taking things the way they want to take it. He keeps getting asked a question. He keeps saying, I'm only focused on the next game. That next game's soon to expire, so where does he go after that? With the big chat, the big speech, it was a belter after Aberdeen, but there was no mention, was there, of pushing forward, preparing for next year, coming back bigger and stronger. It, to me, felt like a man who was reflecting on what he had done rather than what he was going to do. And as I listened to him, very evasive, very good. And if you look back through over his previous interviews, you'll be surprised how long I'll be here. Don't get too attached to people. We're all transient figures. We all pass through, managers and players. Juranovic leaving, he didn't start until he was at a high level late in his career. And isn't that what we all want in life and careers? Our careers are short. We want opportunities.
I forgot you said that.
You have to take them. Is Ange subliminally telling us that he also has that mindset? Who knows? Anyway, let's just break it down. I want to go straight to our guest, Mr. Sunday morning. David, talk to me, brother. It's all been swirling. Where's your head at?
I'll take you back to maybe a couple of months ago when Conte was still in charge of Spurs and it was looking like he was looking for the exit door. I remember saying when all these other, like when Wolves and Crystal Palace and all these other teams were linked to him, Brighton and that, said the only team that I'm going to be worried about, and I know the job's going to come up because it's staring you straight in the face, is the Spurs job. That job is the only job that was getting touted about that I was the only one that I was concerned about. It's now coming to light that apparently they're interested in getting Ange on board, and to be honest, we don't know if they actually do. There's been nothing concrete being put out there that they are 100% going to speak to Celtic. It's just all rumours at the minute. But if they do approach Ange, he's off ski. He's absolutely off ski. How old is Ange? He's 56, 57 years old. His dream has been to manage in the Premier League. He said it since day one. I don't think he's been hiding behind his words at all. I think he's been quite transparent in what his ambitions are. Listen, take out this last season or this season there out of context. Spurs are a top 6 side. They've got the best stadium on the planet. There's not a stadium out there that's better than Spurs' new stadium. They've got all the facilities in the world. Ange doesn't get an opportunity like Spurs again. because he's not getting a Liverpool job, because they're in a position where they can, if Jurgen decides to leave at the end of the season or next season, they can attract a top manager. City, when Pep leaves, they can attract whoever they want. Man United still can attract a top manager. Spurs at the minute, they rode a crest wave and getting the likes of Pochettino, Mourinho, Conte. They're now at a position where they're getting every manager under the sun is rejecting them, including the Feyenoord manager. You can't attract the Feyenoord manager to Spurs. Then Ange is the next one on the list. Ange is never going to be positioned again that he can be offered a club like Spurs with that type of facility. It's basically been a place of a bit of luck almost, that nobody else wants the job. Ange ain't turning it down if the job comes his way. Why would he? Why would he turn it down? I would take it. Personally, I would take it if I was Ange. I wouldn't blame him if he left. Do I want him to leave? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Will he be offered the job though? That's the real question. I don't. There's still names out there. There's still top managers. I'm looking at managers today and who's still out of a job. You've got Ruud van Nistelrooy. You've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They're not going to get Zidane, but Zidane's out of job. There's loads and loads of Brendan Rodgers, Luis Enrique. There's still top managers out there that they've not even approached yet. So it's still a wee bit up in arms if Ange really is the top target. But if he is and they do approach him after the cup final, he's off skate, and we need to just brace ourselves for that. And I won't blame him if he goes, because, like I said, a club like Spurs, yes, they haven't won anything for a long time, but they've got the potential. There's so much potential in that club to be a top 4, top 3, even in Premier League winners if they get it right. A lot of it comes down to the way they're run, and that's probably their biggest problem. But I have if Ange gets to go and at least speak to them, I think the only thing that would stop Ange going is if Levy can't convince him that he's going to get his way. And I mean, if Mourinho and Conte couldn't get their way, will Ange get his way? And that's the big risk that Ange will be having to really mull over, because you've got Champions League football here next year, and he does get to kind of rule the roost a wee bit in terms of who's coming in.
How much does that actually mean to a manager? Just whilst you're talking about that, sorry, I interrupt you there. Because we talk about Champions League football, I think if you want to attract a player, an up-and-coming player in, that'll attract a player. But if you're a manager, and if we're being completely honest and not to downplay ourselves as a club, what really, other than playing 6 games and maybe hoping to get another 2 out of that, what does the Champions League really do for a manager other than experience and saying you've been there?
Well, that's it. I mean, look, Ange is a patient man. If he manages to get, and he believes in his confidence, he believes in himself and what he can get out of a team. We've seen what he managed to do with a Celtic team. He had to pick them up off the floor when it was all against him. There's no chance he's going to win the league. Yada yada yada. Gets his Champions League football. He'll be looking at Spurs and going, if I know in myself that I could get you back to Champions League. Okay, if he leaves Celtic this season, he doesn't get to play 6 games in Champions League.
Yeah.
But then there's always next year at Spurs. However, he's always be given that time. Whether he's afforded that time, that's something that he will have to decide if it's worth the risk. Hopefully, he doesn't think it's worth the risk. He stays with us. But I mean, Mark's alluded to it many times. We've discussed whether he'll leave to go to a Premier League club, whether it's Spurs, Crystal Palace, whatever. Money talks, and I know Ange has said that money doesn't motivate him. But I mean, come on, what does motivate him is going to putting his tactic, his brand of football up against a Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, the boy at Villa. His name escapes me right now.
Emery.
Emery, Arteta. Come on, it's the Premier League, putting yourself up against the best managers in the world. This guy literally said on an interview, I don't know if you've seen it, he was speaking in Greek. I saw
that interview. It was very interesting. He mentioned Liverpool.
Liverpool's his team.
Yeah.
He's not getting Liverpool.
It might be his team, but it's irrelevant because that job's not sitting there.
Exactly. Spurs is. He said, could a guy from Melbourne get to manage Liverpool, a team in the Premier League? Probably not, but you've been an opportunity there might be an opportunity to go to Spurs.
Yes.
He takes it. If he's offered it, he takes it. And it's a big worry. But we have to focus on the cup final, and then if he does go, I hope the board have already started doing their homework on who to get.
Well, that's wishful thinking. I take in everything you've said there, and I do agree with what you're saying. And I'll go to yourself next, Mark. But the big thing that you mentioned there was potential. Now, as we know, patience in the Premier League is not something that's given out, particularly at these sort of cutthroat clubs, top six, let's say, in particular a club like Tottenham, who, despite their record, still expect the world for their fans, whatever reason, based on that, whatever, I don't know. But Mark, the word potential's there. Now, no matter what people think of Tottenham, there's no doubt as a global brand, as a club, as having roots and established in history, Celtic are a bigger club. But Tottenham, surely they're a bigger proposition, a bigger project and a bigger springboard onto other things. Now, for me, I reckon he would probably look at a team, and the parallels between Tottenham where they are now and where we were when he was coming in are very, very similar. And I'm thinking, if I'm Ange, I'm looking at them and going, I could get him into Europe next season. That's step one. Let's just say it's a Conference League with a team like that. He'd be thinking, I could fucking win that and take it for there. With Celtic, your glass ceiling, particularly if you're going to the Champions League, is limited. So what's your thoughts on it? Is Tottenham, are we as fans, Celtic fans, just so blind that Tottenham are a shithouse and they're not worth it? But is there more there? Are they a better project? Are they more appealing to a manager?
Of course they are. I mean, you'd have to be in planet Mars to know. I think that. I mean, we're Celtic fans. I mean, we live and breathe Celtic. We see Celtic as the pinnacle of a world football. But the reality is, when you're inside there, you see behind the curtains, and it's a bit like the Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? We've got a glass ceiling at Celtic. Spurs can offer them riches that you've never seen before, and they can offer them opportunities. I think David said all that I would ever say about in terms of the Spurs job, being up against Klopp and Pep and all the rest of it, and probably find that I think the Premiership's now become the go-to place for the big managers now. I think they might not be attracting the superstars yet. I think there's not been one superstar that's ever went to the Premier League apart from Haaland. I think superstars leave the Premier League rather than come to the Premier League, in my opinion. But I think the managers tend to be going to there, Mourinho's and all the rest of it. So why would you not want to go there? I do think if you're, I mean, Ange came out to Celtic Park on a private jet with nothing, a shirt on his back, and turned Celtic into a winning machine. I think he'd fancy Celtic to go in there with that squad of players and make a difference. Of course he would. So I don't think it'd be a gamble in his head. I think it would be an ambitious move from him, but I think he would be backed financially in terms of relatively, you know what I mean? Getting £200 million in the Premier League doesn't even guarantee you top 10, let's be honest. That's the sort of level they're at down there. I mean, he was going up for the Championship, spending £30 million in players. So, but I think David said that if they make the phone call, he goes, you know what I mean? I think what I will say is, I don't think he's not on the edge of he's not on a pirate ship on a walking the plank, and if he doesn't go on Saturday night, he's going to stay forever or stay for 2 years. I don't think it's got to that stage, Steve. I don't think we can look too much into his post-match interview unless he says, I've won a treble and I've signed a new contract. I don't think it's going to be like that, mate. It'll be the next few days will be telling, but it'll not be his post-match interview. I really don't think that'll be the case. Personally, I think he's off-ski. I mean, I know that I want it to be the case, but you got to look at the mood music, and these London newspapers and all that. They make a living out of churning up shite, same as the Scottish press, but they've not got an axe to grind, mate. These guys have got careers, and it's a cutthroat industry in London. You'll probably find that each department in the sports desk in the London newspapers will have 10, 15 journalists just focusing on one London club. It's not like Scotland where there's like 10 journalists focusing on the fellow Scottish football. They'll have one full section of that sports desk just focusing on Chelsea, Arsenal. That's how big these clubs are and how much work goes into these. So when guys like that are reporting stories, there is substance behind it. But I'll just say this one last thing. If they ask Ange a question, he is gone, you better believe it. If he doesn't go to Spurs, it'll be because he's not asked the question. That's, in my opinion, the truth of the matter. And I heard somebody say to me the day in work that, he won last crack at the Champions League and his legacy's worth more than that. I watched a documentary about the guy, and he said he stayed with his mother-in-law for a while in Australia because he couldn't get work. This is a man that saw the other side of football. He can't afford to pay the bills. Now, he's a rich man just now, but we're talking about £1 million for a job in a contract at Spurs. I don't know about you, Bhoycie, but I know for a fact that I would go any job if it was quadrupling my money, mate, and it doesn't matter how much loyalty or how much half-finished job I'd done.
Yeah. No, that, you know, you're echoing much of the sentiment that sort of is real. It's great to see. There's 167 years at the moment. The comments are flying in. Just keep those coming. Keep feeding this conversation. You know, I know that for some, it's not what you want to be hearing, but listen, we're a Celtic podcast. We want to be talking about what's current, what's now, and this is the story. Whether you or I like it, we're going to address it. You know, there's some points there that are coming out. Bhoycie, want to get around to yourself with it. We spoke about the project being bigger. We spoke about the wages being bigger and the potential being bigger. Now, as Mark says, he's a guy who's basically a rags to riches story, is he not? Everything he's done, he's worked away and he's chipped away. Now, let's not be foolish. Getting to a World Cup, that's a big deal. Getting the Champions League, that's a big deal. And winning silverware wherever he's went is to be applauded. But it's not quite what would be considered elite level. Elite level, is it? Yeah. So is that carrot, as Kenny Dalglish would say, is it going to be too much?
Celtic don't give out carrots, mate. I don't know. I mean,
Tottenham maybe do.
Well, exactly. And do you know what? I thought I watched today a masterclass at the press conference by Ange, and it made me like him more, to be honest with you. I don't feel he's trying to lull us into a false sense of security, and I certainly don't think he is signed for anyone else at this point in time at all. I think right now he is very much keeping his options open, which when you are offered a rolling contract, which I initially would hazard a guess was a favourable decision on Celtic's point of view, not his, and which once he's grabbed the heather alight and he's went, you know what, it kind of suits me now to have that rolling contract. Well, fair enough. We spoke last year. I've been pretty consistent that I think I now like Ange more than I think a lot of the Ange fans like Ange, because I think they've built him up to be someone he's not. And that's, I don't think he believes in fairy tales. I think he believes in himself, and he believes that he can make an impact anywhere he goes. Now, he would have been adored at Yokohama before he came to Celtic, and he was quick enough to take on a shit show at not enough notice, knowing he was unknown, knowing it was not the number one choice, without any staff. He knew. He had such confidence in his own abilities, and that wouldn't surprise me if he had a similar attitude. Does that mean we chase him out the door? Far from it.
No.
Does it mean Spurs have actually asked him? I think the story gains traction. The papers start quoting other papers. The first paper might be quoting social media. Sky Sports then starts quoting social media and the papers. And before you know it, it all looks so legit that this is done. Let's get it one thing clear. He's on their list. That's okay. I want my manager
You'd be
to be
foolish
on the
not
list.
to look at. You would. And
It
sorry,
worried me a bit.
you make a point. If nobody wants your manager,
Yeah, he's not doing a good job.
exactly.
And it's about time that we started getting that recognition that is, I don't know what David was saying at the top of the show, they are stereotypically, they might not be physically in the top six this year in England, but they're a top six English club, I would describe them as. With Newcastle might be upsetting the apple cart there, but that's just due to money. I suppose that's all due to money down there. But notwithstanding that, I also think this has gained a lot of traction through, as I'm trying to say, like through socials, through papers quoting other papers, through Sky Sports quoting papers and socials. And that doesn't mean that's it, job done. Spurs are retaining a silence on it, but if you read other reports, Luis Enrique is on the list. Now, you ask 100 Spurs fans, do they want Luis Enrique or do they want Ange Postecoglou? 100 of them, out of 100, say Luis Enrique. And he has bowed to the big name before. Now, it's easy to say it went wrong for Conte and it went wrong for Mourinho because of the chairman, but he's clearly now also panders to fan sort of pressure to get the big headline name and the sexy name, if you like. And Ange isn't going to compete with those. Let's get real here. What I also think is very interesting, I remember, and people want to forget this, particularly myself, Martin O'Neill after 2 years. Pretty
He
much signed, sealed, delivered.
Conversations.
Was going to Elland Road with Leeds
Yep.
and then pulled out, basically. You know, this can happen. I honestly, if Ange stays and he spoke to Spurs and doesn't get the job, or he turns down the job in another parallel universe, but just say it is that bad, right? And he's turned it down. And that'll be the narrative spin we put on it, even if he just doesn't get it, which is fine. But either way, I'll hold no grudge. I'll say, do you know what? You kept your options open. You never led me up a garden path.
Mhm.
No.
Anyone who's up the garden path with Ange has walked up it themselves without Ange holding your hand up there. And I think that's what we need to get the misty eyes away sometimes and go, this is sadly now in the modern era of billionaire owners, a billionaire league right beside us, football heritage.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Here's the thing, right? As you said, we need to remove the glasses and the bias that we have as fans, right? And as you say, Ange has come in, and just to make it crystal clear in case it isn't, none of the four faces on this screen want Ange to leave. I'm reserved to the fact that, like every manager, he's got a time. He's got a time frame. He's got an expiry date. And I think if he stays, we've got one season and we need to prepare ourselves for the inevitable. But we're having a conversation here and his name's circulating. I see something. Is it all media-driven hype from Scotland? Well, you could argue that at first, but surely there's got to be a shift when main outlets, Sky Sports, are doing break-ins on it. And there's a lot.
All the fan media by Spurs. All Spurs fan media, they don't have a dog in this fight, Steve-O.
No, exactly.
That's the thing. They don't try to upset trebles for Celtic against Inverness Galley. When the main fan media in London, well, at that London club, are spinning the story and really sharing it. Trust me, you need to take notice of that and get the blinkers off that. This always happens to us. They don't have a dog in this fight. They're not part of any trebles or any. They don't give a shit about that. There's substance to it. And that means it's been leaked by Tottenham to people that they know. Sorry.
They've got to put their tentacles out there and see how news stories go. I mean, we even see it with football strips. They get leaked out there to see how the reaction is. Yeah. Just on that point there with Patrick, see that I know a wee bit about this, but not too much. But see, the bookies, they put their odds based on trends by odds compilers. You know, the people who constantly 24 hours a day. I mean, if 100 people are betting Bhoycie, the price of his bet is down. It's as simple as that, because they need to marginalise their hit on this should this happen. I mean, they're going to keep Ange Postecoglou at 20-1 if they've received 10,000 bets in the last 48 years. Don't be ridiculous. That's why not on the odds and they suspended betting, because they did their own background checks to see if there's maybe been just say, for instance, they'll be checking if there's been 40% of the bets have happened in the one area. There's something fishy going on. That's what they do, mate. I'm not going to say who it is, but I do remember somebody getting the Motherwell job, and we all knew who somebody who played for Motherwell, and the manager got a job in the half of my area had him on at 41.
Even Tony's relation.
No, there was when Hingy got the job at Motherwell. What was his name? The old Scotland manager. We all got half of the pub was going there. What's his name again?
Who was it? Matt McGee?
No, the Motherwell manager. It was a Scotland manager, and then they went to
a Scotland manager was in charge of Motherwell.
He went to Aberdeen.
With Brown not in charge.
Craig Brown, that's it.
Brown, so we all knew. Half the pub was told that morning that he was getting the Aberdeen job. That's what it was, and he was leaving for Motherwell, and half of the pub, or most of the pub, were going in and getting him at 41 before, and that's what went for ages before they stopped it. And it was a player who I'll not mention who told us all he was getting the job. These things happen, mate, and the bookies haven't got a clue. The bookies are getting inside knowledge, because see, if they didn't have inside knowledge, not only is that totally illegal, because the Gambling Commission would get involved straight away, there's also a big conflict of interest when it comes to the pricing.
No, so definitely.
Just take that with a pinch of salt. I can assure you that's not true.
Well, David, I want to ask you a question based on what's been gone before, the opinions there, and what I'm seeing coming through in the comments. Obviously, we spoke about Ange's chops. He's he's like, listen, he's proven us wrong, didn't he? When he came over, he was a next to nothing, and we didn't know it. What's been interesting is because I've been wanting to pay attention, as you say, Russell, to down south media. I've been listening to the likes of Talk Sport and things like that over the past day. I've been listening to, for my sins, some Spurs content, and there seems to be this momentum shift with their thinking that they want a long-term building manager, similarly again to what was happening under Pochettino, which would suggest that they're maybe open in a transitional season where there is no Europe to build something and use it as a foundation. Now, Ange is certainly a guy, as we've seen, he fits that criteria with his previous teams, and even with us, and albeit we hit the ground running nice and early. But we've asked, will fans, we've seen that Ange, say no to Ange. Have you seen that tweet going about from the online with the Spurs fans? And it's a like no to Ange Postecoglou type hashtag. So they're really split down the middle, David. But in terms of him coming in, there's also a suggestion, who was it, the Feyenoord manager was supposedly their main focus, and he's knocked them back. Ange is a savvy guy, as it says on screen. And we spoke about the opportunity, but see if he's playing into his idea that he's not quite exactly, he's maybe the cheap option, he's down the pecking order. Do you think he's got the gumption? Do you think he's more self-worth than that? Does he believe more in his self-worth to be a sort of like final last resort on the cheap and go down there? Or does he take it and believe in his, believe in his own ability? And does he get the time if he goes in?
Well, proof's in the pudding, Steve. He wasn't his first choice to come to Celtic. He knew he was last choice. Yeah. And he flew over at the first opportunity after a Zoom call with Peter Lawwell and Desmond. So he's got no problem. He knows where he comes. He knows his background. He knows he's not the flavour of the month and never will be. This is the Greek immigrant from Australia that nobody had heard of, whose career was in the pan when he had a meltdown on sports television. Had to go and disappear off to Greece for a year and play in the Greek third division just to get a job because nobody would take him. He knows where he's coming from.
Do you think he's very much happy to be the opportunist?
He likes to prove people wrong. It's literally, he loves doing it. He literally has waited all season to pick up a title just to get the lucky jab back in. And I'm glad he done it because he's a very, very patient man and he likes to prove people wrong. He's no an idiot. They've all just said on the like even Johnson in the presser today saying we've got Sky Sports News on all the time. We know what's getting said. There's no way Ange hasn't heard this no Postecoglou hashtag no Postecoglou. If he's offered,
I think that would make him more determined.
Of course it would. Why wouldn't it? If somebody was to come on go on Twitter tonight and just say that Bhoycie Bus podcast, which they do, they go and say it's a lot of shite. I want to go well. I want to prove them wrong. Yeah. That David's barbershop's not really that good. I'll prove you wrong. That's why Ange's a very competitive person.
I would agree with him on the bus. Not the barbershop. I'd agree with him on the bus.
So, I mean, yeah, I think. I mean, the initial question has he got more self-worth than that? No, listen, he knows what kind of position that he's in, and if he's willing to try and prove people wrong, I think he'll be more than happy to take up the challenge, whether he was first choice or 10th choice as Spurs manager. I mean, it's been well documented how many managers have torn Spurs down, and there was a comment that got brought up and said, why are all these top managers, why are they turning Spurs down? And why would Ange want to take that? Because these top managers are guys that were managing Bayern Munich, managing PSG, the Spanish national team. These guys have been coming from elite in terms of like where they play, elite positions. And just playing as the manager of an elite club of Celtic. However, it's not seen as a prestigious league that we play in. Hence why he's probably not so keen to a lot of these guys have already had opportunities to manage in the Premier League or have an opportunity to manage bigger clubs.
Chairman know the waters they swim in though. And if you actually look at two of the success stories in England this year, it's is it Bhoycie at Brighton? He came for Shakhtar Donetsk.
Yes.
Let's be honest, they're not as big as Celtic. And look at the success he's had. And the other one is it Alonso, is he called? Is that his name? He used to manage, I think he'd managed Everton before. He's at Fulham.
He's at Fulham,
had
yeah.
a brilliant season.
Yep.
What is his name?
Just remember where
I can't think.
Pochettino. Remember where
Well, he
Pochettino
came
came from.
Olympiacos. So it's like you look at those sort of clubs, and they're the ones they're maybe having the joy. And I think that also can lead into other chairmans thinking that you can maybe take the Roy Hodgson, Sam Allardyce, Alan Pardew glasses off and go. There's other leagues out there that can actually bring you a completely different dynamic that you don't expect.
But here's something for you. See, talking about making that step down. Now, let's say he were to go, and he takes a jump and he gets himself down there, right? As we've seen, success is is expected no matter what club you get down to there. Some will give you more time than others. We always talk about the English Premier League merry-go-round, okay? Now, do you think he's happy to get down there and let's just say it doesn't work out and be part of the merry-go-round? Because once you've the stall's been set up and folk have got to see a wee bit of what you've done. It's been proven over the years, Mark, that whether you're successful or not, once you've been embedded in a club, pretty much on a job, in you, if it doesn't go wrong for you. Do you think any of this features in his thought of getting himself in that big shop window, whether it's successful or otherwise?
It's like the sticky was at the circus, not a circus, at the shows, mate. I mean, they just one falls off and they just stick to the other side. Because if you get a job at Brighton, and you take a job at Chelsea, you get a job at Aston Villa. It's the same with the money. I've always said it. The money in England is actually it's a myth. It just floats in the air. They just pass it amongst each other. They don't spend it with the league very often. It's just the monopoly money, really. And I think it's the same when it comes to managers. And there's guys like Sam Allardyce who've just teams up. There's guys like Hodgson.
How does he keep getting jobs?
because he's been doing there. And Roy Hodgson's, he's had about 29 jobs in the last 11 years. And you say to yourself, and this is it. This is the thing that it comes down to. A manager will always back himself, even if a manager knows that he's got a big job up front of him. Because he doesn't accept the job on the terms that he's given, and he's set himself up for a failure. But most managers back themselves to succeed, and most football players back themselves to succeed. And I don't think Ange would back himself to fail. He would take a job that he thinks would give him an opportunity to get himself. I feel like somebody mentioned there, he's a Greek immigrant. I think it was you, boy, saying, do you know something? These guys, absolutely, I feel like they've got a point to prove. And he's come over here, and there was one guy on the Twitter the day, a Spurs fan, said, I can't believe we've been turned down by a man called Ange Postecoglou. He spelt his name wrong. The same sort of disrespect guys like me and most people showed that guy's name. And I don't think we could be on our high horse just now and sit and say all the Spurs fans are disrespecting him. And we did the exact same thing 20 months ago. We were all saying, who is this walloper? And he's come in and he's shut everyone he's up. And do you know what? I think when you talk about the level of expectation, their expectation is way above them. But one thing we've got to realise as football fans is, see if Spurs was linked with Hatate, who I think is probably our best asset in terms of financial gain, not one of us would be sitting saying, is that the right club?
You've just stole my thunder, mate. I said this off air. The exact same thing. I'm glad we're on the same page. On the same page. On you go.
No, just going to end on that. And I don't think we can sit here and say the same thing about Spurs as a manager, because we've lost players who we thought are genuine stalwarts to lesser teams than Spurs. So see if a guy can, if a club can take players away from us, and us be consigned to the fact we're okay, we've done our best for that guy, he's gave his money back, he's moved on. The only thing is, we're not going to get money for Ange, but do you know something?
Yeah.
If he does go to a team like Spurs, I don't think it will be through Celtic's lack of ambition for him. I think it will be through his ambition. Now, just quickly, this is one thing I want to throw at you for you after you can listen to this.
Yep, on you go, bro.
If indeed Ange does stay for another season, and it might just be the case that he is. I'm beginning to fall down a wee bit. Would you?
I love seeing you getting softened up, mate. I love it.
Would you as a board? Would you as a board fling the £30 million that we want flung at him? Would you give him the £30 million?
But then you've got your ready-made excuse. Your tailor-made excuses there, and this is where you can never go. You're going to go round.
This is where I'm fighting myself. This board have got an out for me, and you know, part of me does want to see a shake-up and say, look, you've got us as far as you can, right? Reset. Let's take this nucleus of good players and start again and give £30 million of the money we've got to build on, because daily give a guy who's going to be leaving in 10 months £30 million as a club at Celtic. I'm sort of break it to you, we don't.
No, I agree.
Maybe that's why the board never gave Brendan it either. Maybe that's why the board didn't give Brendan either, because it was clearly he was wanting to leave.
The China thing with Rodgers is quite clearly fundamentally behind everything that fell apart there, because they knew you're kind of for the off, aren't you? So we're not backing you. You can forget your £9 million defender. But I also think this is where the downfall of the board lies, because at the end of the day, when you look at it logistically, if he's there in situ for another year and he can get you that Champions League with a bigger format and he can win us the league again and puts in the best place for that with a better squad, and he's got a proven track record of identifying players when he's allowed to pay money for them, not his free transfers or his loan signings, you know, when he's allowed to pay money for them, his strike rate is very good. Very good. And I would say, well, even if it is only another year, and by the way, I'm also warming to the argument that this is not as cut and dry as what it was 12 hours ago today, that he's out. Right? And I think 12 hours ago today, every single person went, it's actually happening. I felt last night, eerie vibes that I did the day before Rodgers went to Leicester, when I knew I was going to wake up and read that, and that he was gone. And yesterday and this morning really did feel like that. However, if he were to be staying, which I'm not saying isn't going to happen, because I do think there's a chance, I still think you need to back him in the mindset that he's told us he's got right now. And that would be, I'm focused on the treble. So we then refocus on next season, the same professional manner that we expect Ange to do when he's getting approaches, maybe to speak to our Spurs, etc., that he might not get that gig. As I say, if Luis Enrique decides to go for an interview as well, there's one winner, right? But that would mean, well, look how professional Ange was right up to that treble final. He never, ever lost sight of what he's doing. Now, if we think that means his head could be slightly turned and there's a chance he'll leave in a year's time, that doesn't mean you then back off. You've got to replicate what he's done, and you've got to be as professional and then back him the exact same way. And that'll be very interesting, although I totally understand the argument that they might go the other way and go, well, you can't blame us for not spending because you knew and we knew that he was going to go, and it's like, aye, very good. However, I do think as well when it comes to all this, and it is important to remember, Postecoglou right now is in a situation not created by himself. This is not a guy who's been selling his cell and hooring his cell out there to every club going. If he's had overtures, it's because of either, and potentially with the Spurs one, it's because of the Regan Stevenson exclusive last week on the bus, over a week ago, in fact, 10 days ago, which only has been picked up on, have you noticed, in the last 2 days? And it was Regan who told us that is a City Group man in situ at Spurs. No one in the Scottish media has known that. No one in Celtic fan media seems to have picked up on this till 2 days ago. That was revealed on the bus, just not Monday there, but the Monday before, by Regan. And you join those dots and you go, maybe that's how opportunities arise. Yeah. But I just feel we're in a space where Spurs haven't been disrespectful. Leicester were probably forcing the issue last time. Oh, that's disrespectful. They had £9 million in their pocket. But we've allowed it to get to a stage. And a year ago, I petitioned for Ange to be offered a new deal, the biggest signing of the summer. We then pinned our hopes on the Australia trip. Ange announces a deal over there in front of his home fans. We pinned our hopes on that. These were opportunities. I'm not going to say the board didn't offer them. He maybe then went, well, fuck you. Because when I joined you, you were only willing to give me a rolling deal, weren't you? And you brought in Gordon Strachan after 7 games when I was in charge, didn't you? Because you had lost. Do you know what I mean? That's how sceptical you were of me. So now I've got the right to remain on the tariff that I'm on, and that also means, as it is with all rolling deals, it's easy for me to walk when it suits me. I think that's fair. I think we're in a fair space right now with Postecoglou, and that's why I've went full circle very quickly. I've went full circle. I was sceptical when he took over, and see by the time I'm leaving, I like him. I think way more than what most folk do, because I absolutely respect the fact he's respected Celtic the whole way through this. He has not batted his eyelids. He's not given the game away. He's not chasing anything. He has remained solely focused on what we do. And then if a greater opportunity in his eyes comes his way and he takes it, he would go with my blessing. Do I think that is going to be a guarantee that he's offered that opportunity? I'm not so sure it'll be Tottenham.
So see, just to fire back on that and ask you a question, I totally agree with what you're saying. Ange has been the consummate professional all the way through, and it is pretty clear that in terms of our club's development and doing well, he's got best interests at heart whilst he's there. But again, and I'm no way discrediting the man, because I think he's tremendous, and as I say, I am desperate for him to stay. I want as much time out of him, and I've said before on this show, I would be trying to get him upstairs when his time as manager's up. I certainly do not want him to leave. But see that honesty, do you think, we talk about fans and the bleary eyes, do you think that he's been so honest with us that he's been hiding in plain sight, as I said? The term I used was disarming. He's always constantly said wee things that have laid suggestions. He puts his stall out there that, listen, this isn't going to last forever. Take opportunities, develop, blah, blah, blah. But we've just been so starry-eyed with Ange. It's amazing that we can't read the fucking signs that are right in front of you, which is this man is straight talking. This man is ambitious. And the reason he is still on a 1-year rolling contract is because when deep down, he cares about the club when he's there, but he cares about Ange Postecoglou's interest more, and a 1-year rolling contract only services and only protects one person and one person only, and that is him.
Which he might not have chosen at the start, though. That might have suited Celtic initially.
Exactly.
And now it goes round the other way.
Definitely.
Put it this way, Steve.
Knew that. He could have flopped, boys, saying if he flopped, Celtic could have said, we've got to pay you off and give you 800 grand.
I think that. Once Strachan came in mind for 3 months to supervise him, that's ridiculous. I don't quickly say as well, we've never seen Ange Postecoglou doing the brazen head in a bumblebee top. Yeah, if Jota goes down to the EPL to a mid-table side in the summer, will he get the same judgment and called a rat? I don't think so. And Ange has never took us up that garden path once.
I think he has. I must admit, I've never been, and I've spoke about it on the show, and I felt it. I've never been one. I've never bought the loving in terms of the man. I just respect the man, but I love the manager himself. So I don't get all starry-eyed. I really don't. My days of doing that are long gone, you know what I mean? But I think he has been a badge kisser. He's been pumping his chest.
He has that bad, mate. I don't.
No, as bad as what some people.
You've got to do it a bit to get the fans on side.
I mean, but he's.
I mean, and a couple of his wee quotes have been cringy. I mean, let's just, if it was Rangers, if this was Mikey Beale, because he's in charge of Rangers. If some of the stuff he says and some of it, you'd be like, he's playing to the gallery. You would. There's no lie. And I never really give my opinion based on because I support Celtic. I give my opinion based on, I go, right, okay, I can look at it from both sides. I think the guy has kissed the badge a lot, but that doesn't mean that he's not meant it at the time. At that moment in time, he's felt he's in love with where he's at. I believe 100% that Brendan Rodgers was a Celtic fan. I don't think he kissed the badge and he was a salesman. I think he's been a wee bit of a salesman as well. I'm not going to, just in my opinion.
Have you got to be though? Have you got to be, Mark? How's he going to get you inside if he doesn't do a bit of that?
He has, mate.
He's got to.
And I'm
not
decrying it, boys. I think you have got to give a wee bit of sugar to get a lot back. And don't forget, this guy was brought over, and even the most accommodating Celtic fans had a lot of reservations. I mean, we had guys that looked like idiots on podcasts telling us that to look forward to 5 each straws and all the rest of it and 4-3 defeats. put the fucking willies up my arse, and not just because I was standing behind Philip Schofield. I was really worried at the time, thinking, "Have we hired a fucking donkey here?" I'm not gonna lie.
Jesus H.
Well, no,
Any there for me, or black.
any lawsuits could be sent directly to the Bhoycie Bus. These are not my opinions, or the opinions of my podcast.
Listen, guys. Fucking hell. I've just lost my fucking flow. You've done something. So listen, as it says, here's the thing, right? Totally on board with it. Don't worry, upset folk too much, but let's have a wee bit of fun, right? And I'm fucking bringing it back. It's back on. The hat's back on.
Oh God.
Let's have some fun. Just a wee bit of fun.
If you say bro legends in a minute, I swear to God, I'm walking out of here.
That's why he's leaving. Because that guy asked me to be offside. You know what I mean? And,
listen, right, listen.
On.
So, listen. Listen, people, viewers, it's all for fun. There's 225 of you in the bloody well live chat viewing live. That tells me you fucking love it. You love a bit of goss. You say you hate it, but you love it. You're like, yum, 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 yum.
That is definitely like something on Twitch.
There's that ED pharmacy kicking in there. There we go.
Don't catch yourself on. Controversy sells. And yous are all buying. Anyway, let's just assume. He leaves. Indulging for 5 minutes. Who do we get in? You spoke about, is he a rat? There's one big rat, and Celtic's a big fat bit of cheese. And he's got the swagger, he's got the ego, and he's got the pearly whites to just come in and go, I'm back. Brendan Rodgers. Get the tinfoil hats on, but I'm fucking armed. You guys, you're all going to be getting knocked out cold where the stones are about to fly in here. I'll be protected under my shiny hat. Anyway, guys, if worst case scenario were to happen, David, you are our scout. You're our official scout. Talk to me. Who is out there? Who is out there and who is feasible? Don't say John Kennedy or you're getting taken off screen.
Who's feasible? I had a wee look today to see what managers were actually out of work just now, because I think I can't think of a manager in a job that I think we would ideally try and prize away from. Anybody that's doing a really good job. If anyone's doing a really good job down in England, they're getting touted for Spurs or Southampton or something like that. But there's managers out there, you know, you might be looking at. I mean, out of work. I said AVB was available, but I think Bhoycie, you scoffed at that. A guy that's won the Europa League, the Portuguese League, the Russian League.
He'd crumble.
There's Ruud van Nistelrooy's out of a job. Ruud van Nistelrooy's out of a job. The guy that's won the Dutch Cup and the Dutch League Cup. I think he came close.
They beat him though.
The league with
beat him. He lost to
PSV.
them, man. It's a bad start. They beat him last
so
year.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I'm naming guys that are out of a job right now. Bielsa is apparently available, but I think he's went to Uruguay's national side.
Uruguay job.
I heard that.
He definitely did.
Yep.
He did take it. You're right.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still out of a job. A guy that managed at Molde, Kevin Muscat. Just another guy that was apparently linked with Rangers just because Ange was doing well. Rodgers is the one that I think a lot of people are kind of going to just because he's out of a job and he was the former manager, but I don't think he would come back, if I'm honest. There's a reason he left in the first place. Jesse Marsh is another name mentioned. I mean, I think he's you can't discredit what he did. Martinez is now is he not now the Spanish manager or the Portuguese manager?
Yeah, he's got a job, man.
There's loads of managers out there. But ones that there's none that jumps out at me that I'd be like, yes, I would really like him. If I'm being honest, I thought Villas-Boas would have been an interesting one, but you totally disagree with me, Bhoycie, don't you? Just think that, I mean,
sadly I do.
I'll be honest, when we wind back the clock, and he was a name previously that was a contender or on paper a contender.
He's not been on the job since 2021. He left Marseille because he fell out with.
I thought he ticked all the right boxes.
With the club.
Do you know what I mean?
Because he signed fucking Encham.
Kieran McFadden with a great
he
shout.
didn't want Encham, that's why he left.
Where have I heard that before? Apparently he's a really sound guy.
Mark Hughes, everyone's second best pal. He could
But
be
listen, so Mark, any of these names that are popping up here, just as I say, indulge me, just for fun. It's fun. It's fantasy football. But we don't want Ange to leave, but do any of these guys tickle your balls, as we say?
I Philip Schofield. No, no, of course not. No, I think for me, I know it's unpopular, but I would take Brendan Rodgers back in a New York minute, just because there's no debating the guy's managerial credentials. I mean, he was a phenomenal manager at Celtic. I spoke to David the Butcher the day, and the game that finished us getting allocation at Ibrox was the day we beat them 3-2, and we got a player second half and they brought a striker on, and he won the match in the touchline. And there's not many managers that can do that. He won matches on the touchline, and he was so composed. I don't think Ange would have won that match put that way. I think Ange is a different type of manager rather than a touchline manager, and I think he would do a brilliant job at Celtic. I think there's too many obstacles. It's probably still a bit raw for some people, but by God, I think he would.
Think it would stop him?
Absolutely turn his team. What's that?
I've got the feeling with Brendan Rodgers, he's not just got brass teeth, he's got a brass neck.
Even
I think Rodgers is the guy who could go, nah, but see, the thing is, you'll love me again. It's like when you're
one trophy would cause all that. One trophy would.
I think he would change it within a month. I think he just has that knack. He puts folk under spells, Mark. It's what he does.
Definitely.
And even though we could sit there and go for a million reasons how he took the utter piss out of us before, right? And we could both make a compelling argument that he was a salesman. He took the piss. Yeah. And I bet you within a month, the two will be doing this bus under this wee spell like that. He's amazing, but he's
Brendan Rodgers here for 10 in a row.
He just has to. It's true.
I think. I said it on Twitter last night. I don't think I know he left. He didn't leave halfway through a season, right? He left. He secured a league title. He won a cup and put us in the quarterfinals of another cup. He didn't leave halfway through a season, so that narrative is wrong. But he secured us with a £9 million buyout clause. He won us more trophies, and he'll stay for a longer period of time than Ange did if Ange left. And yet he's doing as a rat. Celtic players can come and go during that transfer window, run for the money. Guys with megaphones shouting at Kieran Tierney, and they're told, thanks very much. He left for a job owing 5 times the money, then he was told he's a rat. I don't think he's a rat, but it's very subjective. For me, he 100% would be the best candidate that Celtic could afford.
So, do you know what? Listen, but on this topic, just real quick before we finish, do you know what? That's interesting. Listen, I'd pay good money to see him in a Range Rover at Lennoxtown talking about signing Benjiani on us.
You don't know. If
after his first game, you're like, Harry, how did you get the turnaround? You go, I just let him play. I just told the boy. Every first game he used to do at a new club, he just go, I just told the boys to go out and play, enjoy themselves. I was always like, is that all it is to this management game? That sounds fucking easy.
On this fantasy football, before we wrap things up a wee bit, I just want to go finally yourself, Bhoycie. A name in our private chat that we've been all talking about that you've certainly championed has been Potter. Now, to go on that, I've always says, I'm hoping, as we've said, Mark and that, talking about this 30 million, as Rangers would call it, a war chest for the Champions League. I hope Ange stays. I hope that 9:30 at Celtic Park, should we win the treble, when he stands out on that stage, that we're going to have a double celebration, or at least the next day. That's what I hope. However, if we go to getting a new manager, I think our intent will be based on, if it's not Ange, it'll be based on if it's a name manager. That suggests we're going to spend money. If it's an obscure manager, it suggests we're downgrading. What do you think, Bhoycie? Potter, again, a company, that was a name that you championed.
Just to quickly take up your point on the podium thing outside, and a point that you made earlier on, which was fair enough about hiding in plain sight. The biggest hidden thing in plain sight would be if that podium were for, by the way, Ange, I told you not to believe all these bastards. Do you know what I mean? There is photos of Dermot Desmond a week or so ago. We all speculate as to what that was about. If you want a conspiracy theory on it, I'll give you one. But that's a boys conspiracy. I think that Dermot doesn't come to town unless
again. You've got it.
There's something in the, something coming down the pipe. And my guess would be he's got wind. Spurs are looking at him. And I think Spurs have probably done all their business very professionally. And they've went, we would like to speak to yada yada. And Desmond doesn't come down for by the way, great season, mate. Just want to say cheers to you. That's not what happens. When Desmond's in town, Desmond means business. And I quite like the version of Celtic when Desmond seems to grab the reins every few years. I kind of like that. I would wonder if that was to go, whoa, heard about the Spurs interest. However, you've not spoke to me yet about what I've got planned for you. And that could be something that completely spins this whole thing the other way. Ange gets what he wants, a guarantee of money Celtic haven't spent a long time, and a contract, not that it's going to be the same as what you get at Spurs in March, right? 5 times your wages, we get all that.
Wait, are you telling me the Monopoly man is interjecting here? He's telling
Spurs not to
and go directly to jail. He's producing the cash.
Why would he be, when he's photos with Ange Postecoglou, Brendan does not, Brendan, geez, we've got him in the brain now. Dermot Desmond does not get involved often. And when he does, exciting things seem to happen. That's the honest truth. And I think you need to play devil's advocate. If Celtic are in the know, which there has been an interest in Ange, like we've all believed it 12 hours ago, and the likelihood is he's leaving, it's a bit bold to do the big podium like party and that. You think about it that way, you go, that is a PR disaster. Everything then, they will get lambasted for that if Ange were to be announced the Monday, the Tuesday to go to Spurs. And you're like, what were we all doing there? What were we all doing? So I wonder if, to play devil's advocate, when you talk about podiums, etc., maybe the reason behind the Dermot Desmond appearance and the meeting that you had with Ange is because there is the genuine interest in Spurs, from Spurs, and I think there is substance to that. I think we all 4 of us agree there is substance to the story now. I don't think that's right. So if there is, and it's been Celtic who've been approached first, not social media, then Dermot's went, fuck that, watch me start swinging my balls about. And he doesn't, I don't mean on the golf course, because I think Desmond, you need to remember, is a very, very powerful sort of character. I think he's an impressive figure. I dare say most people, when you've had O'Neill join, when you had Rodgers join, they're undeniably Dermot Desmond productions. And that is because he doesn't take no for an answer. He was with Ange over a week ago or so. Now they're doing podium parties. Let's play devil's advocate and go, this could be the climax of the season that none of us seen coming. That is the best thing ever. I'm all the way back on the 1st of June, the 31st of May, and go, how mental was that we were in a parallel universe that he was going? He's just signed a long-term deal and has now been promised the version of Celtic we all want to be promised by Desmond.
I think the podium was actually in reaction to the council. I think that's in reaction to the council insisting that Celtic put on some sort of get-together for the fans. I think Celtic reacted to that. I think the podium is set up for the team to go back. I find it a bit presumptuous. I know Celtic, I mean, the same day Ange says nobody in this club is taking Inverness Carry lightly, they'll get a fucking podium put up for celebrating it. You know what I mean?
Ruin the illusion. I'm expecting pyro. I'm expecting to run up. By God, that's the Monopoly man's music. And I'm going nuts.
Desmond just walks out.
Slap me out and a 5-year contract pops out for Ange.
You got to stop watching the wrestling, Steve, mate. You've got to stop watching the wrestling, mate. I mean, you've just got to stop watching it, mate.
They all do that. If there has been an agreement made,
surprises happen.
if there has been an agreement made between Ange and Desmond, and Ange has been, a lot of folks say he needs to just be honest and come out and say, well, maybe he's been told, listen, don't say, because we want it to be a big deal would be announce a contract. You've got to take that into consideration.
I think we were fantasies, and it's good that we're fantasies. Do you remember the talk last year? It was like, or 2 years ago, it's like, they're waiting for Monday to announce how. No, it's Friday because Denmark's coming. Remember, they were always putting back the finishing line with the Howe deal. It was always Monday for the stock market opening.
But Mark, we need to join the dots here though. Within 10 days of each other, a photo of Ange and Dermot for the first ever time. I nearly said Brendan. And now these links with Spurs, which were kind of faint back then, and now have really grown ahead. I think that there are two dots you can join together, and you could come up with either conclusion. By the way I would see it is the honest truth, despite most of the sounding like I would go, whether we think that or not. In terms of whether he will or not, I think right now this is hanging in the balance.
No, it's in the balance.
This is 50-50. I'm nowhere near it's a guarantee that he's going to go.
Do you know what's going to happen?
Near it. I'm 50-50 on it.
There's an easy way to do it. You catch him unawares. We win on Saturday and you get him in the showers.
I don't think Saturday's going to be. As I said, I don't think he's going to.
Chatting before.
He's on the edge of a cliff. I don't think that. I've never seen it happen before. I know that it happened with the showers with Lennon, but I've never seen it happen before. Somebody coming out of a press conference at the medal when he's netting going like that. First question: how is Kyogo after these? No, I signed a new contract. It doesn't happen that way. I'd be very surprised. It sounds amazing to me to just stand up there and have a T-shirt, rip it open that says "I'm staying." I'd be very surprised.
Yes.
Celtic is a club. I don't think Celtic is a club conduct themselves that way. I don't think they do things that way. I really don't think that's what's going on. I don't think he's going to go into his post-match interview and say, "Oh, by the way, I was trying to keep it all about the players and all about the team, but I've just signed a new contract." You're going to hear the details in the coming week. That for me it sounds brilliant, and for always it's a wee bit of a fairy tale fantasy land stuff. But it might happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
well,
I don't think.
We spent 40 minutes talking about him going to Spurs. I suppose we can give him not fantasise, but we've speculated that he's going to be the Spurs for 45 minutes. We can speculate that he's going to rip his T-shirt open and there's going to be a.
You need to wash the wrestling and all, David. What is this?
Don't offend me.
There's more stars in your eyes. There's more stars in your eyes coming out the smoke.
I do think there's an argument that it wouldn't be at the podium. What my point more was, I think if they were to do like a party at Celtic Park with the podium, and then the next day they knew all along the manager's away, by the way, that would be the. Do you know what I mean? I would expect the announcement not to be at the podium. I would think it would be like that. I think when you build something up like that, and you've got all the fans outside your ground celebrating, and you know at the back of your mind you're about to drop the bigger. Do you know what I mean? That is also.
It's a contract, yay!
Yeah, like imagine if they did that. That would be. It is one hell of a come down to when we just had all partying at the ground with a big podium, everyone partying, hands doing all the thumbs up, and the next day he's off. Think about it that way. You can turn your mind a wee bit to go. If they all are in the know that he would be going, just say what we were 12 hours ago, and it's done, right? It's 100% done. I think they would not listen to the council and just go, well, we're not putting a party on for them. You can ban them for the street, close the streets. It's not our problem, really, because it's not. I think it's quite a ballsy move to do all that with a manager who's going to be front, left, and centre, whether we like it or not. And then the next day, he's just photographed in a white and blue tie. I think that's quite far. Do you know what I mean? That's quite far-fetched as well when you think about it the other way. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate on it all.
But even look at the timing of the Ask Ange video that went out today. You're like, really? Really?
Today as well.
Ask Ange anything, guys. Ask him anything. We'll tweet it.
I was a bit silly that because it was only going to
be usually someone like, ask Ange, what is your favourite food? And he's
it's still like the timing to put that out. You think you go, let's not put that fucking tweet out if this is completely taking over Twitter a day that our manager might be leaving. Let's stick out that Ask Ange thing we made last week. Come on.
That's the same setup that was posting happy birthday to Harold Bratback when we were losing 10 in a row. They've got notifications switched off, mate. You know what I mean? They don't listen.
I think the
Kerry
PR guys
the
had
Tin on
turned
Twitter.
up.
They don't care what
I
you
think the
Corner,
Ange
though.
thing, I think there has been, I think when we spin this, and we have, as David said, we have spent the first 45, 50 minutes discussing the realistic possibilities, guys, of him going. And I think the argument's been fair and balanced.
It's a current affair.
But I think when you look at the arguments, what I'm trying to say, Steve, very quickly is when you look at the arguments for him staying as well, there's plenty of leads you could follow that go, what's he actually said at this point? Because we can go, he's been respectful to Celtic. I remember saying at the spin of him going, or you could say, you were saying hiding in plain sight. He could say, I don't get what you. I told you the whole, like, I've never changed my style. I told you that I've been consistent throughout and I'm still here. That could also definitely be the case.
Do you know what, guys? As we say, we've chewed over the fat of that until the cows have come home. And I must admit, listen, there's still, thank you, over an hour, and there's still 234 of you with us. You know, as I say, controversy can, creates chat. Folk want to talk about it. We don't want him to leave, but, it'd be remiss for us not to talk about it. Why wouldn't we? But I want to bring it down to the alley. I want to bring it back to the now, and we'll wrap this up with a big bow. There's a cup final ahead. It's against Inverness Cali Thistle. They were previously called our bogey team. Mark, you got a ticket, my friend? You going?
Aye, mate, aye. I'm going to head to the park before it and walked in with the folk there / bucket. It's only
how much are you going to remember this time?
Was that?
How much you remember?
Zero, mate. Absolutely fucking zero.
We had the best chat on Monday, right? I was like, going to go live at 12:30. Mark's like, he's working. I'm like, just wanted your sort of insight on the game. And he's like, then he asked me, boys. I was like, you were there. And he was like, no, it doesn't matter if I was there, mate.
I can't remember fuck all.
These guys,
class.
The game is away. I don't want to talk about who's going to start. Let's face it, we know who's going to start. We saw it against Aberdeen. I don't think anything's going to change. So I just want to quickly wrap this up. There'll be a proper show by the lovely blonde bombshell Bhoycie Boy on match day. I'm sure you'll all tune in for that whilst you're getting rat-arsed. So I just want to get around y'all. Start for yourself, Mark, and we'll work our way up. I want a score. Are we going out in classic style? Was Aberdeen a wee precursor to what we can expect against a lesser team at a bigger stadium on a bigger occasion? I want a score prediction, if you will, and I also want maybe a wee first goal scorer. Let's get people their coupon set up.
I think when Ange's teams need to win, they win, to be quite honest with you, mate. And I think Celtic will go in there. Don't forget, you get beaten in McLean and referees, but it'll not be enough for them. I think Celtic will score 4 goals. It'll be 4-0, and if I was going to do a first goal scorer, right, I think you'll get my player of the year, Rio Hatate.
Rio Hatate, first
goal. I'll have that. David, talk to me. Is the confidence high? Of course it is.
Yes, very high. I was going to say 4-0 as well, but just so we're not got all the same predictions, I'll say 4-1, and I'll say Inverness get a wee clack. We'll have a wee
negative,
a wee fucking scrappy hang at that's what I think will happen. 4-1.
Who's your first goal scorer? Dare you go for one?
Who's Inverness Cali Thistle striker? I'll go with Kyogo if he's fit. I think Kyogo, which I think sure he will be. Kyogo.
Bhoycie?
I think I'm going to go bold. I think, and if he is going to go, he goes in a blaze of glory. I think the record ever Scottish Cup win. If we score in 5 minutes, which we're so capable of doing, I think all we've got to do is win by 7. Now, I have predicted a 10 goal win many a time. I'm not going to go as far as predicting 10. I think we could do 7-0. And I'm being completely honest. Celtic, I feel, with a bit between their teeth again, like they showed against Aberdeen, they showed them no mercy. And it's not about, see, when you get the early goal, it means you can relax. But it's what Celtic do towards the end. See, once you're knackered, see what we beat. See, Rangers is our closest competition, right? See what we did to them at Hampden in that League Cup final. Always remember this. They thought they were doing okay, like kind of stopping us at times. But what they didn't realise was they were fatigued as fuck when they went in at half-time. They were gushed Because trying to imagine what that does to a team that's not played, as Jonathan pointed out the other night, in a month. They have not they've not played football in a month. These guys are going to get the fright of their life. Where Ange's team, as Mark says, don't do getting beaten the games that matter. They'll come in. I think and if we were to watch, and part of our generation would be not the 5th treble in 8 years, and the world record treble moment, which again is a moment in time. But imagine the 7-1 O'Hampton in the Sun. Imagine eclipsing that. Okay, it's not against them, but imagine being Mark being there at a record ever Scottish Cup win. I think Celtic will win 7-0 this weekend.
I'll take that.
Myself as your host, and I must thank you all for joining us tonight. Still 230 of you with us after an hour 15 minutes. What a fucking effort. Thank you very much. Genuinely, we don't often praise enough. You don't actually realise how much we appreciate you guys all sticking with us. We know we talk shite at times. We know you piss you off at times. But the chat has been great tonight. I'm going to finish up. I share your confidence, Bhoycie. I think I'm not quite on the 7. I'm going to go for 6-0 with Kyogo getting a hat-trick. The body bag's out at half-time, 4-0, and then we'll line up 2 in the second.
Love it.
But anyway, guys, listen, that has been the Thursday Night Forum. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. Mark, David, Captain Bhoycie, thank you for joining us and taking the time. As usual, Bhoycie, are you going to be back tomorrow? Are you going to be with Phil for the Bustalgia?
Yes, I'll be in the old Bustalgia Scottish Cup moments. I believe it is.
Scottish Cup moments. Get yourself in there, and you'll also get
I've made my packed lunch for it already.
There you go. Canada's favourite time. Can't say fairer than that. And then Bhoycie's going to segue into a wee pre-show, and I'm pretty sure we're getting yourself and Terry Robb later on in the night.
Well, hope to get Terry definitely. Terry was missing for the last game of the season because he was watching his boy play. So a big shout out to his boy who got player of the season and all that as well. Terry sent me a photo of it. That's why he missed it, and I go, fine, I'll not dock his week's wages. Do you know what I mean? He was, he's 31 pence. I was going to withhold it, but I've decided to send him it this week. But no. Hopefully we can get Terry on after the game. But before it, even if I need to do it myself, hopefully someone will be available in the afternoon, and we'll get some good debate going in ahead. But I think it's right that we preview these games. Will I wear a suit with a big flower on it? No. But we will be here nonetheless.
Well, I'm pretty sure you'll have a floral shirt on because that's sweet.
I could do a floral shirt. I could do that. That's the best of both worlds. We can do that.
Anyway, once again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. Everybody, remember, it's only a game. Have a good night. See you all later.